I'm not going to lie. Zach Taylor, you got me, you slide dog, but Dalton Risner's the Bengal. What's up, everyone? It is Josh here from No Buts About It. And if you missed it, Dalton Risner, the top available guard in free agency, is a Cincinnati Bengal. Jordan Schultz was the first to break the news. We're going to talk about it because this is what we've wanted. And it's just another thing that Joe Burrow has gotten on his wish list this year. Joe Burrow asked for T. He asked for Jamar. He asked for Trey. He asked for Mike. And then he kind of indirectly asked for better guard protection. And he got T. He got Jamar. He got Mike. He got better guard protection. He got everything he asked for this offseason. The Bengals have given it to him. Now, Zach Taylor, my comment at the beginning, this man in a press conference, if you didn't see it, he said, I think the starting guard is already on the team. I think the starting right guard is already a Cincinnati Bengal. And that did not inspire a ton of confidence in fans because, well, as you know, Alex Kappa was released this season, and he didn't look great last year. He kind of fell off. We'll see how he does this year. I believe he signed with the Raiders. Cordell Volson, he was on the roster until yesterday. He was waived yesterday, and I believe he was injured anyway. He'd been starting at left guard. Wasn't great. But Dylan Fairchild came in, the third-round pick, and he's looked a lot better. I've liked what we've seen out of Fairchild in the preseason. So that left us with Lucas Patrick, who was a free agency signing, who I was originally somewhat high on. It left us with Cody Ford, who I'm glad is still on the team, versatile guy. I'm glad he's still around, but I think he's a backup. And then it left us with Jalen Rivers, who I do think could eventually be a starter. 5th-round pick, not there yet. And, you know, Scott Peters has these guys to work with, who I love Scott Peters. I love what I've seen out of Scott Peters. I'm excited to see what this line does this year to protect Joe. But, you know, those options aren't super, you know, like, yay, right? You're not super excited about them. Excited about potential with Jalen, but not super excited necessarily about protecting Joe this season. So that's where we turn to Dalton Risner. And Dalton Risner was a 2019 second-round pick with the Denver Broncos. However, he most recently played with the Minnesota Vikings. And Dalton Risner has not allowed a sack in the last 2 seasons of his NFL career. Granted, he did not play a full season last year because of a back injury. He started on IR. So that I believe he played 10 games last season, though. So he still played significant snaps. He's played over or just under 3,000 pass protection snaps in his career, and he's only allowed 11 sacks in his entire career. And to put that in perspective a little bit, Alex Kappa allowed 8 sacks by himself last season. So that's an upgrade, right? At right guard. You got Amarius Mims, upgrade. Orlando Brown Jr. looked great when healthy. Dylan Fairchild looks fantastic. Ted Karras still looks good. I like what the Bengals are doing here. If Cody Ford is your 6th man off in this rotation, I'm good with it. If Jalen Rivers can, you know, get going, we could have our guards of the future and our OTs of the future. And with Matt Lee, we may even have our center of the future once Ted Karras retires, because he's going to finish his career as a Cincinnati Bengal. But this whole thing has been a roller coaster ride. Getting Risner. We came for a visit a week ago, and I posted that short where I said I thought it had been leaked that he'd been signed. His wife and him seemed super excited about coming to Cincinnati. And then it comes out that the Bengals reported, or it was reported that the Bengals offered him vet minimum and they wouldn't guarantee him the starting job over Lucas Patrick, which again did not look great in the preseason and has struggled with injuries all of training camp. And I think all of the fans were like, dude, Cincinnati, what are you doing? And I did say in the comment section, there were people saying we should just throw the whole book at Risner. And that was before this man was signed. This was before this man was extended, or not extended, excuse me. I keep saying that. Signed They gave him a $14 million pay raise for this season. And now they know what they have. And the Bengals need to go all in because you might not have Trey next season. I hope we have Trey next season. I hope he ends up getting extended. They can extend him mid-season if they want to. But they do have an offensive line that looks good. This is probably, hopefully, should be the best offensive line that Joe Burrow has ever played behind. And he looked great last season. Now, Risner, I don't know how much he actually offers in the run game, but the Cincinnati Bengals are a pass-first team anyway, heavily pass-first. Between Jamar and T, it's hard for anyone else to get the ball in this offense. So having a guy who is strong in pass protection is a need for the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know how much they actually have agreed to pay him right now, but this is a very important signing. And offensive lineman signings tend to go overlooked a lot of times. You know, they aren't the big names like wide receivers or quarterbacks or defensive ends, but they are very important. It's a very important role. And this should help the run game a little bit, I would think. So I'm very excited about what the Bengals have here. Hopefully they can still go after some other guys in free agency. The guys that they went after on the waiver wire, like 4 of them, I think got claimed before by teams ahead of them. So they weren't able to do a lot on the waiver wire. They were 17th on the waiver wire, not super helpful. But yeah, this is good news. This is great news for the Bengals. It has been a great week for the Bengals. We got Trey Hendrickson, got Dalton Risner. We know who our week 1 starters are going to be at both those very important positions. And so, you know, going back to the Zach Taylor comment of I believe the starting guard is already on the team. I had a guy tell me earlier this week, you know, head coaches don't lie. They just don't always tell the truth. And I think that's true. And especially in this position, Zach caught a ton of heck for this comment. But, you know, he probably knew that the Bengals were pursuing Dalton Risner and that they were close to a deal because it was like 2 days ago, maybe even yesterday. And, you know, what happens if the deal falls through? What if he came out and said, hey, yeah, none of these guys are good starting at right guard, but we got this guy we're working on getting. And then that deal falls through and they don't end up signing anyone. You're going to lose a lot of loyalty from your players there if you came out and said that as a head coach. So I'm glad Zach didn't do that, but I also understand the frustration with fans. I was frustrated as well because I was like, part of me was like, are the Bengals really going to roll out with Lucas Patrick? Because Lucas Patrick like literally threw his hands up in a play against the Commanders that resulted in Joe getting sacked. So not a huge fan of that type of play. But that's my thoughts. Again, the contract has not been announced. I expect it to be maybe a year for $3-5 million, somewhere in that ballpark would be my guess. But we will see. But this is a good move for the Bengals. We didn't do our full show today. That's coming out tomorrow. We've got lots to talk about, of course, with the waiver wire, the Bengals, Colts, Lions, all were active on it. So make sure you subscribe and you don't miss that. We've got more coming at you always. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the latest NFL news, including Bengals signings like Dalton Risner. But until next time, I'm Josh Butts with No Butts About It. Go do something nice for someone.